The once murmuring fans in the stadium regained their roar, energizing a defense that had been fighting behind the 8-ball all day. The teams traded punts and both offenses seemed to stagnate until James Stark, the Packers' change of pace back, reversed across the field for a long run. The worst part of the play was not the yardage gained, but the injury sustained to Richard Sherman. Cam Chancellor is just built differently than the rest of us, and on the football field he hit anything that moved. Receiver, running back, lineman, and sometimes even his own teammates. As Richard was trying to rip the ball out, Cam came in to lay a kill shot and snapped the ligament in Richard's elbow when he rammed it into Stark's helmet. Richard dropped to the ground in pain, but he popped up quickly in order to remain in the game. It was obviously a very serious injury as he had to clutch his arm against his body as if it would fall off if he fully extended it. Everyone in the stadium could see Richard was playing with a broken wing, but being the badass he is, he didn't miss a snap, and because of the fear he had created in the heart of Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback still dared not test him. Even though they were running the ball well against the Hawks, the Packers inexplicably started throwing. Though they did knock through another field goal, the incompletion stopped the clock in their time-churning drive.
The beast woke yet? The beast woke yet? The beast woke yet?
Who, me?
That's on the beast, I know.
When your offense stalls, when your pass protection folds, when your star quarterback's mojo goes missing, where do you turn? To beast mode. The Seahawks started giving it to their bruising back even on a crucial 3rd down and 6, and Money Lynch would not be denied, churning out first downs and Packers alike. Despite the running game working, the Seahawks were probably mindful of the bleeding clock, so they went back to the pass and to horrendous results. Packers defensive coordinator Dom Capers was one of the original architects of the zone blitz. His scheme was practically built to destroy pass-happy teams. To make matters worse, the Packers knew the Seahawks were going to throw. They call it pinning their ears back. No need to play the run, no need to hesitate, just go hunt the quarterback. Wilson was sacked, then nearly threw a 3rd interception to Clinton Dix, and then another incompletion when Russell got sandwiched between 2 defenders. Number 3 didn't have his best day, but the pass protection was awful, and his usually sure-handed receivers struggled to make the catch. Facing 4th and 14, Coach Carroll chose to trust his defense one more time. The Packers tried to test Sherman's ability to tackle, running an outside stretch play to his side of the field. Chancellor and Thomas were already leaning that way, ready to protect their ailing teammate. A run up the gut on 2nd down for nothing, and then on 3rd down, Rodgers continued to refuse to test Sherman, missing on his attempt to hit the tight end in front of the sticks. Stronger than the fortress of Helm's Deep, that great Seahawk defense, so stout throughout the day, held once again. If there was a chance the Seahawks were coming back, and even now it was the slimmest of hopes, they had to get up the field in a hurry, and it had to be a touchdown. The short Packer punt put the Seahawks around midfield. For one of the few times on the day, Russell had a clean pocket and what appeared to be 4 open receivers. Marshawn lounging on an island in the flat, Baldwin and Curse on crossers, and Ricardo Lockett breaking deep. Russell chose to target the one who had been his intended recipient on every interception in this game. And then came another. Russell uncorked his pass, and like seemingly most of his throws on the day, the ball ricocheted off of Jermaine Kearse's fingers into a Packers' waiting hands. No matter how good your team, sometimes it's just not your day. And this game's loss felt absolutely assured when the intercepting safety Morgan Burnett did the equivalent of the offense's victory formation, forgoing his interception return to go to the ground and protect the ball. The Packers, as one would expect, went back to Lacey, pounding the rock and eating the clock. Michael Bennett made a great play on 1st down, knifing into the backfield to blow up the run. On 2nd down, Bennett pushed the tight end into the backfield, spun off his block, and killed the play 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. On 3rd down, it was Cliff Avrill's turn to muck up the play, but Bennett was right behind him to clean up the tackle. It cost 2 timeouts, but the amazing determination of this defense got the quick stop and the ball back to the offense. Early in the game, the Seahawks just missed a sure touchdown when Russell Wilson put a pinpoint pass on Marshawn Lynch as he was running a wheel route, and Lynch dropped the ball. Still, the design of the play worked, and Russell remembered.
Hey, we can still win this game now. Stay in it. 4 minutes, 50 seconds. Let's go. What do you think about that? What do you think about the go ball? Be ready on that. The last one? If he goes out there again, I'm going to come to you.
That's all good.
I'm right by him.
After a couple of nice gains up the field, Wilson lofted a feathery pass out to Marshawn down the sideline. Lynch made the catch and ran it in from there, though the touchdown on the field was overturned when it was determined he stepped out of bounds. The ruling made the Seahawks spend valuable time trying to punch it in. Finally, Wilson used the read option keeper to get the score.
Let's go. Big time play. Make big time play. Love you boys, man. You a big time play.
Coach Carroll was faced with an interesting decision. Send the kickoff deep or try for the onside kick. There was just over 2 minutes left and the Seahawks still had one timeout left, which meant the clock could be stopped 2 times. If they kicked it deep, the Seahawks defense could get another 3 and out, and theoretically, they could get the ball back to the offense with approximately a minute left. Instead, Coach Carroll opted to go for the onside. The second-guessers and armchair quarterbacks frowned in expectant failure. The NFL in the modern era has instituted subtle rules to make the onside nearly impossible to recover. Stat heads knew the chances stood at somewhere around 10%. What occurred next was one of the great boneheaded moments in NFL history. The onside kick is a highly choreographed affair. Most teams choose to defend against the onside by creating a wall of blockers in front of a specially designated player. Usually this is the guy with the surest hands on the team. The wall of blockers are strictly instructed to ignore the onside bouncing ball and stick to their designated blocking assignment. On this onside kick, Packers backup tight end Brandon Bostic momentarily forgot to block and went for it in the excitement. Kicker Steven Hauschka created a nasty spin off the turf, and the ball moved like a Randy Johnson slider in the air. Bostic made a haphazard and bobbling attempt to catch the ball until backup wide receiver Chris Matthews used his long arm of the law to reel in the bounce off Bostic's helmet. Time stood still. How could this be? A day of complete loss, yet in the blink of the eye, the game was suddenly there to steal? Sure, they needed a touchdown, but there was time, so much time on the clock. They could even run if they wanted, and the Seahawks did just that. A big part of Russell Wilson's strategy is to sometimes hold off on keeping the read option early on in order to set it up for later on in the game when he really needs the yards. After scoring on the read option keeper just moments earlier, Russell kept it again, going for nearly 20 yards. The Seahawks needed the score, but you could see with their play calling, they were looking to burn some clock on the game-winning drive.
You got 4 downs. You got a lot of time, you know. You can take the ball around. You can run whenever you want to.
Beast mode. Money Lynch, maker of men who make business decisions, got fed up with all the messing around. He ran like a stampeding bull all day, but it was time for his signature finishing move. As had been seen in recent playoff games, when you need a rumple-stomp run to stamp the opposition out, Mr. Lynch always delivered. Beast Quake in 2010, Baby Quake against those same Saints in 2013, the 49er Championship game Karate Kid kick, rumble, and flip. When the game is on the line, Money Lynch was clutch. And against the Packers, he busted off another run of jogging intimidation as the 3 pairs of hands that tried to take hold of him slid off like rubber on a wet road. For the first time on the day, the Seahawks had taken the lead.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Seahawks!
Let it go. Come on.
The crowd goes nuts. Marshawn Lynch, like it was a walk in the park, a 24-yard touchdown run.
Lynch scoring so soon made the next play of vital importance. The Seahawks were about to give Aaron Rodgers and the Packers nearly a minute and a half on the clock to get up the field, and all they would need was a field goal. If the Hawks didn't convert the following 2-point attempt, Rodgers would be driving for the win. Packer kicker Mason Crosby had made 15 straight postseason kicks. The conversion was a must. The Seahawks came out of the huddle with a 3-wide look, all of them aligned on the strong side. This had been a play they had gone to often during the regular season, close to the end zone, especially set up from the left hash mark. By design, Doug Baldwin gives his defender a little shimmy shake at the line and then uses his first step quickness to create separation as he jets for the pylon. Jermaine Kearse is tasked with running a pick on the man covering Baldwin. The pick works, somewhat. But Kearse's defender reads the play and instinctively picks up Baldwin, which is not part of the Seahawks' plan. The Packers secondary really played a marvelous game, and this switch is just another example. But when you have Russell Wilson, Master Warlock magic beats good execution every time. Here's Russell's situation. The Seahawks are in max protect. He only has 3 receivers running routes. Kearse has basically stopped his route after doing a good job on the pick. Baldwin gets rerouted and gains too much depth. Baldwin's adjusted route has also taken him into Ricardo Lockett's break. There is no one left. Yet Russell, smart as he is, knowing the extreme stakes, waits for a miracle. Enormous and agile, Julius Peppers stalked Russell like a monster out of a 50s horror movie.
Julius Peppers, North Carolina.
Being chased by a giant, Russell did what any other man would instinctively do, and that is run in a serpentine trail backwards. He stopped, he twisted, he dipped, resumed his retreat, and finally set up to throw 16 yards behind the original line of scrimmage. Baldwin and Lockett remained covered. Lynch was still laying on the ground after his cut block, and so Russell seemed to say screw it, and he flung the ball back across the field as high into the air as he could. There is no indication he saw Luke Wilson. He may have actually been throwing to Kearse, who finally decided to go into his scramble drill protocols. The ball went to the moon, swung close to its craters, and finally resumed obeying the law of physics as it dive-bombed back to Earth. Ha-ha, Clinton Dix, who had made play after play on the ball all day, completely lost track of the pass on its descent. Luke Wilson styled on Dix, playing hot potato with the ball until he finally decided to catch it.
Here we go. The 2-point conversion. Russell's going to roll right. He looks, man in his face. Still looking. Going to throw it up in the back of the end zone. He looks for help. There's Luke Wilson. He's got a shot at it. He makes the catch. Yeah! And now the Seahawks lead 22-19. Can you say comeback?
Man, I want it. Man, I want it. I want it. I ain't losing.
When you give those Hall of Fame quarterbacks plenty of time and extra timeouts, it's almost stealing as they drive up the field. Rodgers pushed the Packers right out onto the outer edge of field goal range as quickly as Thanos snapping his fingers.
Can the Packers get this to overtime or can they win it?
Come on, let's go, team. Let's go. Let's go.
The Seahawks defense tightened up, and all the Packers could manage further was a short crossing route where Rodgers tested Sherman for the first time since his injury. The twists and turns of this game led here. Mason Crosby had a 48-yard field goal attempt from the kicker's favorite hash. He had been successful from the same length earlier in the game. Into swirling winds and the gusto of the 12th man, Crosby momentarily saved the Packers' season, drilling the field goal right down the middle. Everyone in the stadium exhaled. This ride of emotions had left them nearly as exhausted as those players on the field. Some struggled to comprehend the game was still ongoing. Others questioned their reality, trying to grapple with how the Seahawks, a comedy of errors for most of the day, were even still alive. When the Seahawks won the toss, all rejoiced. Then the telecast was sure to squash those good vibes, replaying for the 1,000th time Matt Hasselbeck's guaranteed proclamation against the Packers back in the playoffs in 2005. Can they please retire this clip? Have we not seen it enough?
We unbreakable. No matter what you do to us, we gonna stand up and we gonna win this. It's all gonna finish. We the best finishing team.
The Seahawk offense returned to the field looking noticeably more confident. Offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell gave Russell an easy rollout pass to Baldwin to get a first down and the drive going. The Packers sold out to stop the run, putting the Hawks into 3rd and 6. The Pack showed press coverage, and Russell decided to attack it. Just after the snap, the Packer corners both showed their press was a disguise, giving the receivers a free release and retreating a few yards backwards. In the last moment before Doug Baldwin leaves frame, his defender is in good position, step for step with Doug. After Wilson lets go of his pass and the camera pans back over, Baldwin has created 3 yards of separation. The ball floats in on target, and Baldwin makes the sure catch as he went to the ground. Russell Wilson had finally found his groove. Perhaps the Packers' defensive line was tired from chasing Russ all day, but pass protection was finally holding up, and Marshawn Lynch was cracking off yards on every touch. The Packer coaches, sensing their defense beginning to wilt, became desperate. Prior to the possession, Wilson had made sure to key in everyone on a particular check that he believed he was going to make at the line of scrimmage.
Hey, be ready for the check. Hey, be ready for the check.
His warning proved timely. The Packers had successfully used their blitz packages to maximum effect throughout the game, but they were always sure to leave at least one single high safety to take away the deep ball. On the final play of the game, the Packers brought all 11 men down near the line of scrimmage. At first glance, it appears a casino blitz, but then the Packers only send 5. Wilson's check is given a pass protection to the point Lynch takes a post in front of Wilson as his Secret Service bodyguard. After a day of getting battered, quarterbacks tend to get happy feet, which throws their accuracy askew. Wilson kept his feet quiet, trusted his check, and let fly a bomb with a spin so tight the ball must have hummed in flight.
37 power. Be ready. Hey, check 50, check 50. Hey, yo, Friday. Throw it.
Russell takes the snap, drops back. He's going to throw down the middle. He's got a man. The ball is caught. Game over, baby. Touchdown. The game is over. The Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl. What a catch in the end zone. It is Curse. They are going nuts at Century League.
Yeah, what a job, baby. Great job. I told you.
That's right, Jermaine Kearse, after a day of being unable to catch a cold in the rain, dropped a smooth inside release on cornerback Tremont Williams. Williams throws a hand up on Kearse's shoulder to slow him down, but Jermaine quickly knocks it away as he accelerates into his next gear. It's actually excellent coverage by Williams. He nearly catches up to Kearse to make a play on the ball. Nearly. But the pass could not have been better delivered than if Russell had run down and handed it to Kearse himself. Game over, Seahawks win. No one really understood what just happened. A miracle? A blessing? Fate? An act of God? There was just no way to make sense of the game that was just played. For the Seahawks fell behind in such a way that felt hopeless. At no time did the Packers get ahead by more than 2 scores, yet their lead felt insurmountable. The offense was a cavalcade of misery. Throwing into the stiff winds and howling rain, Russell Wilson's passes more often than not seemed to find Packer defenders. His receivers seemed to forget how to catch the football, and every tipped pass got picked. The offense may have won the game, but the Seahawks defense were the true heroes on this day. They held the line with no room for error and kept the Packers always within sight. Despite having 21 carries, the Hawks held Elation under 75 yards rushing. And once they turned the Packers one-dimensional, kept Aaron Rodgers from cracking 200 yards while intercepting him twice. The Legion of Boom added a jaw-clenched toughness to their renown as their members fell to perilous injury, yet refused to make excuses, refused to back down, fighting off the pain, continuing to unleash their particular nasty brand of physicality. For 3.5 quarters, this game looked out of reach. But Coach Carroll always preaches the game is never won until the 4th quarter. As silly and trite as that may sound, the Seattle Seahawks showed the truth of his mantra on this day. A couple weeks later, the Seahawks and New England Patriots went on to have one of the more entertaining Super Bowls in recent memory. The Seahawks lost the game on one of the most famous plays in NFL history. Most will fixate on that final play, but few remember it was the toll from this game and further injuries to the secondary that allowed the Patriots to come back in the 4th quarter down by 10. That Super Bowl loss caused this game to be somewhat devalued and forgotten. Let it not be so. While the Seahawks team was unable to win back-to-back Super Bowls, the team showed its fans a fiery determination that none should ever forget. Torn labrums and ligament tears didn't stop the LOB from giving the offense its chance to find itself. Marshawn Lynch gave a tour de force performance that gets lost in beastquakes and crotch grabs, and Russell Wilson had one of his worst days as nearly all the eyes of the nation were upon him, and yet he found a way when it mattered. Winners always do. Leading them all, that silver-haired fox, with tricks buried up his sleeve and internal optimism flowing from his heart. Behind that loquacious kindness and genteel nature is an iron will of unwavering faith that he instills in his players. Whatever blows they may suffer, However many points they may fall behind, these Seahawks never give up, believing the potential of a comeback always remains. Keep trying, keep fighting, and you will break through. Just one of the reasons why we love this team.